Today we are going back to the basics. We are going to prepare my classic sourdough bread recipe for the summer. So I start off with 75 grams of active sourdough starter. I do less starter during the summer to help slow down the fermentation time. I also use cool water during the summer. Again, slowing down that fermentation time is always helpful when it's hot out. So 350 grams of cool water and then 500 grams of bread flour, 10 grams of salt. And then I stir it up the best I can with my dough whisk, and then I like to get my hands a little wet and get my hands inside the dough and mix it up. Then I cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes, and then I like to use my bench scraper to perform my first set of stretch and folds. That way I can get all of the dough off of the sides of the bowl. Then I'm gonna cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes and perform my second set of stretch and folds. This time I use wet hands to perform my stretch and folds. I grab one side of the dough and stretch it up and fold it toward the center, and then I just work my way around the entire ball of dough. And then the final set, I like to do a little coil fold to help get the underside of the dough. Then I cover it for another 30 minutes, and I usually do one more set of stretch and folds before I do my pre-shape and my final shaping. I always use the caddy clasp method, which is my favorite for my final shaping. Works every time. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly encourage you to give it a try. And then I plop it into my banneton and I let it rest on the counter for about 10 minutes. And then I love to do a little stitching. This is one of my favorite steps to do during sourdough bread. It adds a little bit extra tension in your dough, and also it's just fun. So here I am stitching the dough, and then it's going to go in the refrigerator for an overnight cold proof. The next day I have my oven preheated at 485 with my Dutch oven inside. Now I'm going to do just a simple scoring technique. I'm going to plop my dough inside my preheated Dutch oven and bake it at 485 for 20 minutes with the lid on. I'm going to then remove the lid and lower the oven temperature to 450 and bake it an additional 20 minutes. There you have it, my classic sourdough bread recipe for summer.